Uh, Good afternoon and welcome to this conference on vehicle inspection in the mark of the International Aftermarket Meetings. First of all, I want to thank you, Autopromotec, for having organized this important meeting on vehicle inspection. As all you know, the vehicle inspection is a really very important tool that we have to keep the roads safe and the air clean. So this is why it's very important to have the vehicle inspection according to the evolution of the vehicles. As you know, the vehicles are evolving really quick, and we have to be sure that the vehicle inspection it's following the vehicles, because if not, we cannot inspect most of the systems that the vehicles fit. I don't want to extend me so much because the important is to hear our speakers, so I will introduce all of them. We have 3 persons here on the stage and 2 persons online, so I will introduce them. First of all, Claire Depré, Head of Road Safety Unit, DG Move on the European Commission. Good afternoon, Claire. Can you hear us well?
Perfectly well, and very happy to be with you.
Okay, welcome. Then we have Eduard Fernandez. He's Executive Director of CITA. CITA is the Vehicle Motor Inspection Committee. They are in charge of the vehicle inspection, basically around the world. We have also Jordi Petelet. He's Business Developer at Petelet, and also Chairman of the EGEA Working Group 2 on Emissions, and he has a lot of experience in vehicle inspection equipment. We have Bill Hanvey, President and CEO of the Auto Care Association of the United States. Welcome in Europe. Thank you, Bill, to be here. And last but not least, we have Antonio Lopez. He's President of ARIDRA, the Aftermarket Association in Mexico. Thank you very much, Antonio. So we are more delay. I'm going to give the floor to Claire Depré, who is going to explain us the current situation of the directive, that it's under revision, and will be very nice to hear their talks. Thank you. Claire?
Road safety to start with, and I think that we can all together think about how to prepare for the next generation of roadworthiness testing for the future. I have prepared very little slides, and I also want to apologize because unfortunately I will have to leave you a bit sooner than expected. So if you allow me to do so, I would like to present quickly a little bit of the road safety situation in Europe, and then move to the tools, the means that we have to support road safety, to then bring to this revision process that we have been launching, and to explain a little bit how we intend to tackle it, and how we hope to interact with you a lot more on the topic, and what to expect from our own side. So let's move on and just explain a little bit, as I said, where we stand. You see on the screen the latest road safety statistics that we publish very recently. The aim of these slides is to showcase that progress has been made, but also that we are still in a situation where we had quite divergence of results all across the EU, and that we all together are trying to stimulate each other to reach a best performance also in terms of road safety. So what you see here is actually the trend in road safety statistics over the last decade. You also see how we are trying to interpret this statistic. You can also see from the slides that actually compared to the previous year statistic, we are becoming a little bit slightly we are seeing the effect actually of the traffic getting to usual ratio, which means that then also, of course, road safety accidents are increasing. And that for me is quite an interesting factors, especially when we are getting closer and closer to our 2030 targets, where our ministers, the transport ministers, have taken the commitment to reduce death and serious injuries by 50% by that date. So somehow it already gives us a little bit the sense of the urgency and the fact that we really cannot underestimate or underplay the different tools that we can have at our disposal to support safer roads in the different across the different member states. So when we talk about road safety, of course, you kindly invited the Commission, but we are not the only player here. And actually, the beauty of road safety is that it is very much of a shared effort to try to support the one and the other efforts to that respect. So what is our own contribution to that goal? We are also, like all other road safety players, trying to work on behavioral aspects. We are trying to contribute to make infrastructure safer. We are looking at, of course, the vehicles because they play also an important role in road safety. And we are trying to look into the rescue services, so to try to minimize the impact of accidents once they have taken place. The type of tool that we are using, you can see them on the screen easily. So on the one hand, of course, a lot of best practices, but also, and I think that this is quite relevant also to our topic today, it's about data and also key performance indicators, besides all the efforts that we are putting in place when it comes to harmonization and legislation on different aspects. So here you see, I think, on the screen quite a number of legislation having been adopted recently, or tools have or initiative having been taken recently. Some of these will be revised in the next month. So currently we are quite actively working on the revision of the driving license directive, as well as the cross-border enforcement of road safety offenses. But we are very much active already when it comes to the evaluation of the existing legislation, when it comes to roadworthiness testing and the preparation of its revision. So why have I brought also this? Because, of course, while we are looking at the topic that is of matter to us today, we have to keep in mind the broader aspect and the broader elements affecting road safety. I'm saying this because, of course, developments when it comes, and I'm looking at the right inside of this slide, the elements that tackle, digitalization of the road transport sector, or also the connected and automated mobility, elements that are also linked to also drivers' behavior, are also having an impact when it comes to the use, the performance, the efficiency of the devices, the system that we can have in our vehicle. So what is the revision of the roadworthiness legislation about? I will try to explain what the legislative framework is, what we intend to tackle in the context of this revision, because for the moment I have only very much tackled the road safety component. I will try to explain to you a little bit what the review process is, the timing, and also the main area for the revision. So when we talk about the road, what in our own jargon, we talk the roadworthiness package, we are actually looking into three different specific areas. The first one is related to the roadworthiness test for motor vehicles and the trailers. The second one is about the registration of document, and the third one is about the technical inspection, the technical roadside inspection that are being carried out by member states in as far as commercial vehicles are concerned. So recently, or let's say a few months ago already, we adopted in December 2020 our own roadmap, a bit long-term roadmap for the support to the transformation of the road transport system, and including in this the road transport sector. So that's the sustainable and smart mobility strategy. Several actions have been mentioned in that respect, but you could already see actually very early into the document that the legislation on roadworthiness was highlighted as one of the major measure in that context, and certainly with the intention to support lifetime compliance of vehicle, both in relation to emission and in relation to safety standards. Which is quite a good thing, because at the end of the day, we have here at our disposal one important tool that, if we are, I think, efficient enough, we can use for several purposes. So that's also the reason why actually, what's also the reason why actually we have decided to look at the resilience, to look at the sustainability. We have been discussing the element related to road safety. And here you can see a little bit the contribution that we expect from the revision of the different directives that we intend to carry on. In green, you see that actually one of the major steps that we have to undertake is to evaluate the performance, the effectiveness, the efficiency of the current provisions. Of course, the measures that are in place are quite recent. We certainly will try to take advantage of the revision to streamline, simplify, reduce the admin burden in as far as possible. But equally, when we approach the revision of the three directives I've mentioned before, we also look at most probably certain dimensions that could be expanded compared to the current legislative framework, have not been addressed sufficiently or have not been addressed at all. So to elaborate a little bit of our reflection, we started interacting with the stakeholders on what is now called a code of evidence. So we tried to see whether we had included in our reflection all the relevant elements to kickstart our analysis. We had strongly identified safety-related electronic components, including also all the new dimension related to the vehicle, what I would call an intelligent vehicle, and with all forms of advanced driving assistance system. We also start reflecting about extension of the scope of application, the cargo securing provision, and I would say also try to make use of this revision process to try to move to more digital documents. So that's certainly one of the areas where we can facilitate the interaction between citizens, company, and the administration at national level. Then, and I think that this dimension was also brought forward a lot by our colleagues from the different part of the value chain, the fact that we should pay probably a little bit more attention when it comes to the testing of alternative fuel vehicle, and in particular hybrid and electric vehicles. Recalls of vehicles have been put as a question mark. We have also interacted with colleagues from DG Environment, as they are actually in parallel to our work revising also the end-of-life vehicles, and to see how far actually through our revision we can support the objective they intend to carry out in that context. So that's for the road safety component. Then, of course, we have been also looking at green and sustainable mobility. In that context, the new periodical technical inspection can, as we all already can see from practices at member states level, could be highly efficient to identify the highly pollutant vehicle. So to make sure that the performance of the same vehicle remains the same during the lifetime of the vehicle. Then, of course, while we are supporting these two dimensions, there are several elements we need to take into account. So the fact that we have more and more data exchange, will have hopefully more and more data exchange and handling. So how to support prevention of tampering, the odometer fraud, as we used to call here, with certainly a quite strong interest from the European Parliament, which regularly come back with that topic. So also a dimension linked to protection of consumer. Digitalization of document I have already mentioned, but also electronic storage of up-to-date roadworthiness data, which is also important in relation to enforcement policies, as well as a number of administrative procedure. And now I want to focus on the timeline for the revision. You see that we are almost at the end of this first line. We have completed our work when it comes to the public consultation. Translation are almost ready. So in the next days, you should be able to all participate and provide feedback regarding this open public consultation. Remember that this tool is less of an expert consultation, but rather addressed to the general public. But we all are general public, so please make use of that tool. We will then, now that we have selected our contractor, we will then hopefully soon start all this targeted consultation too, so that there the stakeholders identified, and also, of course, public authorities will be able to provide us with the feedbacks on the needs, with the confirmation of the problem we have identified in a more structured and maybe official manner also. And with the support study ongoing, which will also help us to identify the possible impact of options, we will have more precise options we would have defined on the basis of the consultation run, and on the basis of several workshops we will have with all of you. We will then define our own impact assessment. So resume, complete, let's say, our own analysis regarding the impact of the different policy measures. So we aim at adopting the proposal Q2 2023. So quite still some work to be done, but with a lot of I would say expectations and willingness, certainly willingness to interact with you in order to make this revision a successful in terms of content, but also in terms of path and procedure. So at this moment in time, we are working with authorities on measurement of PN and NOx emissions, with the aim to try to define some guidelines, some recommendation ahead of the adoption of the proposal that the Commission would make as part of the revision process of the roadworthiness package. We are also very much closely interacting with our colleagues in DG GROW that are preparing a proposal on access to in-vehicle data. This is quite relevant to us, and as I have mentioned in the beginning, are very much focusing on your feedback to the open public consultation. With all this, I stop here because, as usual, I'm talking too much, and I really wish you a very interactive and very interesting session. Many thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much, Claire. I know that you have to leave to another important meeting. I don't know if you allow me one short question. Thank you very much. It was really interesting. And also, taking the words from Claire, encourage all of you to participate in the public consultations. The Commission look at the results of these consultations and take your answers as they take your answers as input, very important input. So I encourage all of you to participate in the Commission public consultations. Just very short question from my side. I see that the adoption by the Commission is expected by Q2 of 2023, but you know that in May 2024 we have the Parliament elections. How do you think this is going to affect the publication, the final publication of this directive or regulation? We still don't know. I know that it's not everything in your hands because, of course, it has to go through trialogue, etc., but maybe you can give us a clue. Thank you.
Maybe one thing I have not mentioned, I should have done indeed, is to remind everybody that this work is also considered as an essential part of the road safety policy at EU level, also by the European Parliament, and that we have seen from different angles. I was quite pleased to note that the colleagues from the Transport Committee had issued an own initiative report on a report from the Commission on the implementation of the current legislation. They have so many different aspects to deal with that to pay that attention to, if you want, a midterm report shows already the importance they give to that aspect. And I think it was also quite an interesting way to maybe remind the Commission about the priority the Parliament has in relation to a possible revision of the package. Then we also had the chance to have, for let's say, a European Parliament resolution on road safety, and it was quite a long time that we did not have a specific light on road safety. And there too, again, the Parliament has raised quite a lot of expectation when it comes to roadworthiness testing. So, if you ask me whether we would possibly face a limbo, I don't think it will be the case. Of course, we are getting towards the end of the as months pass by, we are getting closer to the end of the Parliament mandates, but we are also not getting yet there. So there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot that can be prepared, especially to make sure that through the different interaction with the stakeholders, with the Parliament in general. We had recently a dedicated workshop, for example, when it comes to odometer fraud. So they take initiative to be ready as soon as this Commission proposal would be ready. So I think it's more the challenge. I think it's a little bit more for us to make sure that we deliver according to the planning and according to the level of expectation, both from the Parliament, but I imagine also from the national administration and the road safety actors in particular.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the explanation. And I think you have to leave, so thank you very much for your participation and hoping to see you in person in Brussels in the next weeks or month. Thank you very much, Claire.
Me too, Jordi. I am also looking forward. Many thanks and good afternoon to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Now we have Eduard Fernandez. Are you there, Eduard? Hello, Eduard.
Hello, Jordi.
Good afternoon. And I know that Eduard has a very difficult morning because in theory, he should be here, but he had big problems with flight delayed, so he has to go back to the office and participate online. So I really appreciate it that you managed to participate, even if it's online. So thank you very much. And just without more delay, just can you explain your talks about the revision and the inspection, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jordi. I try to be here with you. I'm sorry I cannot, because not only from the professional point of view, but as well from the personal point of view. I had a huge willingness for us. This time it has not been possible. Looking very much forward to the next occasion. Before starting my presentation, I want to recall on two subjects that were mentioned by Ms. Depré before. One is that, she started with some figures about fatalities in Europe. Europe is so far the benchmark in the road safety management. The figures that you have seen there, whereas there are huge figures, there's not other region in the world with something similar. So we are in the safest area in the world regarding road safety. And we have to look very much as periodical inspection as a part of that. So periodical inspection itself, it's something, and I dare to say that without meaning, the meaning is to contribute to lower those figures. And the other part that she mentioned, and it's related to my presentation as well, is the challenge of new technologies. So let me, without further ado, let me go through the presentation. First of all, some words about us, because perhaps not everybody in the audience are aware of who we are. So we are the Worldwide Association of authorities and authorized companies active in the field of vehicle compliance. And this is completed, of course, with the manufacturers of inspection equipment. From a figures point of view, we are talking about more than 140 organizations in over 50 countries. We are talking about vehicle inspection, and we read here vehicle compliance. Some years ago, we made a change of strategy, defining a new scope. And we very much like to have a wider concept on vehicle inspection itself, and this is why we highlight that idea of vehicle compliance, because at the end of the day, this is the field in which our members are working for. That activity, in that activity, we have identified 7 key trends. Some of them related to new technologies, some of them related to the general, let's say, approach to the road, to the road transport. First of all, autonomous and connected driving, without any kind of doubt. Second, additional regulatory and political instruments. So the tradition was to use vehicle inspection to ensure that vehicles are kept roadworthy during their lives. But there are other options, and technology is going to allow other options. Vehicles are already connected, today only connected to the manufacturer, but in the future we expect that vehicles can be connected as well for sovereign activities like vehicle inspection, and we need to take advantage of the potential of new technologies. That's related with item 3, digitalization and data access. Item 4, new shared mobility and human behavior. So all of you in the large cities have already seen the blast off on the use of e-scooters, powered bicycles, etc., etc. And this is something to introduce into the equation of road safety. Automation and inspection industry, this is very much, let me call like that, an internal affair. So how to make the process of inspection as much automatic as possible. And this is to try to remove the human factor, because in the human factor is where many times we have the problems, and I'm talking in particular about fraud and other difficulties that our activity has to consider. We cannot be blind to that. 6th item indeed is alternative powertrains, electric, hybrid vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, etc. They have a huge potential of advantages, but we have to manage the cons as well. Fire hazards on electric vehicles are less than on the internal combustion vehicles, but when it happens, the consequences are much worse, because the techniques to extinguish fires are much more complicated. And last but not least, vehicle compliance as a part of road safety and environmental initiative. And this is very much linked to my first remark about what Ms. Depré said. So we are part of a bigger world, which is the world of road safety and environmental initiatives. This is a puzzle. We are one of the pieces of the puzzle. The piece should be there, and a puzzle without a piece doesn't look nice. And this is what we are trying to do. But the piece is not, on the other hand, a complete puzzle. At the end of the day, let me show our motto, which is we make roads safer and cleaner every day, every way, impartially. And this is extremely important because we are impartial from other stakeholders and in particular from vehicle manufacturers. And that has an unique added value. And of course, in a responsible way. And what's the impact? All of that. Let me show on a slide. Here you have some figures. All the references to the studies that endorse those figures are in the last slide of this presentation. So I figure out this is going to be distributed and therefore available to you. In Costa Rica, a small country in Central America, middle income economy. When the vehicle inspection was redesigned to be more efficient, that created a reduction on crashes of 40%. Let's move to another medium income country, which is Turkey, much larger and much more complex, in which the review of the vehicle inspection scheme, the steps forward in order to have an inspection system much more serious has created a reduction on fatalities, in that case of 15%. Moving on to a high income country, Spain. In Spain, the inspection of mopeds, the small motorcycles up to 50 cubic centimeters, up to 45 kilometers per hour, means a reduction again in fatalities of 18%. Moving to the side of emissions, and as well in Spain, a study from University Carlos III from Madrid shows that vehicle inspection prevents more than 400 premises per year. And now going to the United States, you know, vehicle inspection is not much popular there. That depends on every state. There's not any kind of federal enforcement of vehicle inspection. What we can, the outcome we can get comparing those states with vehicle inspection for safety and those states without safety inspection is that the states having safety inspection have in a very long time period. So this is not comparing data of a couple of years. This is a quite deep study. The states having safety inspection, 5.6% less of fatalities than those states not having that. You may tell me that the accident analysis is not showing the same figures. Here what we have basically are comparing situations without vehicle inspection with vehicle inspection, either in the time, Costa Rica, Turkey and Spain, or like the case of the United States, doing the same moment but in comparable geographic areas, which are the states, the different states of the United States. So perhaps the problem is it's a bit more in the side of accident analysis and the kind of causations that they are able to find. So PTI, a part of a wild scheme. So let me share with you some thoughts about the legal life of the vehicle. So first of all, we have new vehicles arriving to a country or imported used vehicles. The features of those vehicles, in particular the new ones, are controlled by what is non-vehicle approval, homologation, certification, depending on the country where we are. Those vehicles, they have a very important control point, which is the moment of registration or licensing. And this is something that authorities control very much because this is directly linked to the revenues for the government, because the registration or licensing of vehicles is an activity highly with a high impact in taxation. And therefore governments, they pay attention to that. Then we have the rest of the life of the vehicle, where many things could happen: modifications, change of ownership, breakdown, repairs, change of use, maintenance, crashes, and some other. So that takes 10, 15, 20, 25 years, depending on the vehicle. And then the vehicle arrives to the end of its life, and it's necessary to scrap it in a clean and efficient way. And this is another of the activities of the European Commission, as Ms. Depré was mentioning before. Or that vehicle is exported to a third country and we restart the cycle again. So which is very important here is that we need to have this whole picture in mind. If we refer to the situation in Europe, today there's a quite big lack of connection between the standards for new vehicles and the standards for the life of vehicles. So if you take on emissions, the type 2 test that it's necessary to do during the approval process, so the tests that provide a reference value to be checked during the life of the vehicle, they never have evolved since Euro 4. So, and this is a nonsense. It's a complete nonsense. So we need to stop situations like that. I also want to highlight another idea that vehicle inspection, it's not only technicalities. Of course, technicalities are very important, but governance is as well essential. So vehicle inspection, it's a mandatory activity that needs to be implemented in the society. Therefore, that governance is critical. The technicalities we more or less can copy-paste from elsewhere because vehicles are relatively the same. Of course, 15 years old, just to say a brand, Toyota Corolla is not the same that the last Mercedes S-Class that has got the approval of 3 levels of automatic driving. Of course, they are quite different, but the concepts inside are very much the same. But with the governance, we have to work country by country because the governmental structure and the society of every country is different. We cannot copy the PTI system of Germany, which is a federal state, federal nation in a nation which is not federal. We cannot copy-paste the governance scheme of a country in which almost all the population is in the big cities and sorry, we cannot compare that with the governance scheme where the population is very much evenly spread all around the country. So this is a factor that traditionally has not been worked out, and it's very important for the development of vehicle inspection. How we call an important aspect about that governance. Authorities shall be able to design, implement, and operate the vehicle compliance scheme. Since this is a mandatory activity, vehicle inspection is by definition responsibility of authorities. Sorry. And they are responsible for that. Of course, on the operation, they cannot trust part of the activity. They even cannot trust the control of the operation, but in any case, the responsibility stays of their side. This is a key cornerstone in order to define the proper vehicle inspection scheme in every country. So summarizing what I tried to tell to you today, the 3 ideas I want to convey to you is that in order to keep pace with the technical evolution of vehicle, it's very important that to have a comprehensive view in the whole legal life of the vehicle, so coordination between approval and inspection, and this is something we are lacking very much. The second idea is that this has a huge impact in the final result of road safety, which is demonstrated many times in different countries, in different regions of the world. It's going to be even more important. The more automatized that vehicles are, the more important it's going to be to make sure that the technical features stay as foreseen. And the third aspect that I want to highlight today is that, of course, technicalities are crucial, but the governance model is essential in order to have the most efficient approach to keep our vehicles clean and safe on the road. And an example of what can be done on top of governance is that coordination that I mentioned before between vehicle approval and vehicle inspection. This is what I have prepared for today. Thank you very much for your attention. Again, sorry for not being here today with all of you, and happy to take questions from your side. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduard. Thank you very much for your speech and your very important information. But we are a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to keep the time for the other participants. And if we have time at the end, we'll ask the questions. It's okay for you?
It's perfect. Thank you, Jordi.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eduard. Without more delay, I will give the floor to George Petelet. Is this working? Yes. Perfect. If you can explain from your views from the point of the view of the garage equipment manufacturers, or in this case, inspection equipment manufacturers. Thank you.
Yeah, well, if we consider different major pillars of periodical technical inspection, I mean emission management and safety. Regarding emission, as you know, we are facing the fact that during the last year we have improved the vehicle behavior in terms of emission. But we have for sure welcomed some technology like DPF, diesel particulate filter. But if we want to take advantage of them, we have to make sure that they are managing the job properly. And we have also to avoid that people will tamper them. And now, during the last year, we went through different studies. Now we have products. Now we are able to provide products on the field in order to double test if those DPF are working properly. And this is the case of Netherlands. This is the case of Belgium. This year, next year, Germany and Switzerland will follow. The European Commission is also managing a recommendation regarding PM measurement, particulate measurement. EGEA is part of this work, and we are supporting that for sure, because it makes sense that we will spread those good ideas all over Europe. We are also part of NOx emission studies, and GRC, I mean the European lab, is also leading some studies on that. We have some pragmatic solution, I mean static solution or dynamic one, and we are able to provide what we have to provide for that. Okay, let me wait a bit. Okay, so regarding safety, okay.
That it is compulsory to turn out the lights before leaving their stands.
Yeah, okay. It seems that we are able to carry on. Regarding safety, we should consider basic requirements as brakes, for instance. I mean, if you really want to trust in your braking system, first, you need to trust in your suspension system, because this is the only way to keep your wheels in contact with the ground. And during the last year, before the COVID crisis, EGEA spent a very exciting work with a specification regarding suspension. This means that we may have different implementation from the different provider. But at the end, we have a unique standard with a unique data set, and then we are able to compare a vehicle against different systems. This is one topic. A second topic we have to consider regarding brakes is for sure emergency brakes. And this is also belonging to the ADAS family. So from time to time, we have also to follow the introduction of new features. We will have also to follow the introduction of electric vehicles. You know that for an electric vehicle at high speed, you will only manage regeneration. At medium speed, you have regeneration and the use of pads. At low speed, of course, you are using the pads. So this has to be considered also in the new testing approach. If we consider ADAS family, I mean the safety features managed by electronic, we are already facing 50 of them. So it's a huge amount of data, because if you consider 50 features multiplied by 50 brands of vehicle multiplied by the number of vehicle model, the variants of software and so on, it's an amount of 2 million use cases. 2 million use cases. So on one hand, we need those data. On the other hand, we need standardization. And it was mentioned by Claire Depré. We have during the last year also made some improvement regarding this standardization. And now we should consider EPTI as an evolution, I would say, of the OBD standard. This means this is a standard way in order to approach those electronic features. One example, an additional one. If we consider headlight beam tester, headlight, we have a very pretty features named anti-glaring system, where you are able to use your headlight even if you are facing people in front of you. But to do so, you need for sure the headlight, you need a ECU, and you need a camera system. If all those three parts are not operating properly due to a windscreen exchange or a bump or whatever, then you are switching the situation from an anti-glaring system to a glaring system. So we have proposal regarding that. We have equipment in order to measure properly the headlights. Of course, we may use EPTI standard in order to have this relationship between the tester and the vehicle, in order to make sure that what we are expecting from those ADAS features are really providing what we are expecting from them. So we have different use cases where definitely we have to follow the evolution of the automotive business by introducing the proper equipment with the proper standard, with the proper definition. I was supposed to be short.
Thank you very much, George. No, you were very clear and concise. So thank you very much, George.
You're welcome.
Next one is Bill. Hello, Bill, again. We have seen in the CITA presentation some figures from the States. So what can you explain us from how is the situation in the States? You know that PTI is not very popular there, right. So I don't know what you can explain us.
I would be glad. First of all, thank you, and buongiorno, and good afternoon to everybody. It's rather difficult to compete with a good rainstorm, but I will do my best. And in order to keep it succinct and short, there are three things that I want to focus on that we're working on in the United States. Number one is advocacy. So we have currently 15 states that conduct safety vehicle inspections. Doesn't seem like a lot. We also have 16 states that conduct emissions testing. Does not seem like a lot. And what's important is that what we saw in the earlier presentation is that now we can use that data from these states that do participate in state inspections, going back 44 years, to say that indeed vehicle safety inspections for those states that conduct those tests, the fatality rate is 5.6% less than states that don't. So that's always important to have good data when we are talking to legislators about this issue. And I'll be quite honest with you, our biggest battle is to keep those states that do have safety inspections continuing their safety inspections. Getting a new safety inspection introduced at the state level is difficult. Many of the lawmakers and the constituents see this as a tax. So we all know that that's always difficult. Wow, standing ovation, fantastic. So from an advocacy standpoint, really our efforts are trying to keep our efforts alive in terms of the states that do conduct inspections. We know that they save lives, and we're going to continually beat this drum. But we're taking kind of a different approach from an association standpoint from from a filling the void. So 2,000 years ago, Aristotle said that nature abhors a vacuum. So what we're trying to do as an association is to fill that vacuum where we don't have state inspections. So we introduced a program called Be Car Care Aware. And what we do is we encourage our shops and our shop owners to conduct their own vehicle inspections from a safety perspective and obviously from an auto care perspective and from an aftermarket perspective. That's very important for us. And that's something that we partner with ARIDRA in terms of promoting vehicle inspections at the shop level, even where those states that are not mandated, that when someone comes in for an oil change or to get their Freon recharged, or whatever service that might be, is to create that relationship between the consumer and the shop owner, and that shop owner is conducting these vehicle inspections on their own. So that's another way for us to fill the void. I do want to talk about technology for a minute. And the technology that is evident on a vehicle today, ADAS, telematics, it's increasingly more important that, number one, for those of you that saw the last panel on right to repair, in order for us to be able to do this work, we have to be able to access that data. We have to be able to access ADAS data. And as these vehicle systems become more and more integrated with one another, and they talk to one another, and the vehicles talk to one another, the need for regulation, standardization for these vehicles is absolutely critical, because a safely working ADAS system prevents accidents. But who's to say that a non-properly aligned ADAS system installs false confidence in a consumer when those systems are not working? Everything needs to be integrated. We need to leave it to professionals to inspect. And I think and I know as technology becomes more and more critical to the component of the vehicle, we have to conduct these inspections. Antonio?
Yeah. You're right. In Mexico, I'm just going to go ahead before the question.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
In Mexico, currently, we have a mandatory car inspection on cities that have a lot of vehicles in operation, and also on border cities, bordered with the U.S. And it works pretty well. It's every vehicle owner has to go there every 6 months to check on emission control. Recently, it was announced that they were going to launch a program for the cars to be inspected, physical inspection on safety checkpoints. That was announced at the beginning of this month, in September. And it was going to take place by the 180 days after that, which means at the beginning of November. However, right now is on the review, let's say that, We're optimistic that it will pass on. It has been lobbied by very many people, the auto parts makers in Mexico, the car makers in Mexico, and the dealers, the car dealers in Mexico. So we are optimistic at ARIDRA that it will pass on, and it will save lives, for sure. And that's pretty much what we hope for. Now, let me just tell you about, well, before that, I want to thank Renzo, Emmanuel, and of course, Massimo, to make this possible, to have us here, and take this opportunity to thank Bill here, to whom I shared this stage with, along with George, because he's been very supportive and he has been attentive to what's going on in association down in Mexico, which I appreciate very much, Bill. Just to complement this presentation, I would like to tell you that ARIDRA is the oldest association in the automotive industry in Mexico. Next year, we're going to turn 80 years old. We started up in 1943, in the middle of World War II. So we're very proud of it, and we're going to throw a big ballroom party next June. Well, next year in June, and I hope some of you can join us there, you know. But mainly, that's what I can contribute to, saying what's going on in Mexico regarding mission controls and possible inspection, physical inspection, mandatory on all the territory. I don't want to take more longer the microphone and turn it out to you, Jordi. Thank you much.
Really interesting. Thank you very much, Antonio. I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience in case somebody wants to ask anything. Any volunteer? Pete? Can you bring a microphone?
Okay. European perspective about the new revised PTI. Everything good. CITA introducing inspections across the world and everything. We also talked about the vehicles becoming a lot more complex with telematics and everything. What's your view when the vehicle manufacturers turn around and say, you don't need to do a check because we're watching the vehicle 24/7, and if there's something wrong, we will telematic it to say you're not moving around because your either emissions aren't correct or there's something wrong with your ADAS, which will be possible in the future. So how do you see inspections being, let's say, having their place in the automotive world? I'm talking about in the future.
To whom you address the question? In general? The question, to whom you address the question? To the table. Okay, thank you. So who wants to answer?
Well, definitely, I guess we get the answer also from Claire Depré. I mean, if we consider on one hand the diesel gates, okay, we have an answer. This answer, the first answer is OBFCM. Okay, this is a way to grab real data from vehicle, and from the vehicle, we are able to bring to the European Commission real data. And who is supposed to do so? Periodical Technical Inspection Network. Because we are a third party, we are independent from the vehicle manufacturer, and we are able to pick up those data. We are able to bring them without any manipulation. Okay? This is an example.
Have you all heard the expression, letting the fox watch the hen house? So that's the ultimate end game, right? So we tell you it's okay, it's okay. It cuts the independent aftermarket out of the entire equation. So that's exactly what we're fighting for here. And we cannot let the fox watch the hen house. So.
Yeah. Well, I just have to agree, you know. Yeah.
Any other questions?
My name is Domenico from EGEA. My question is related to the black box. So now from July ongoing, we will have the black box installed in Europe on the cars. That can be used also for taking data to support the PTIs in the future. So, because we were discussing this morning about access to the data, and this is not easy going at the moment. So this is also, you know, something we need to take in consideration, because I think this can be a first, you know, point where we can get data and we can connect this to the PTIs. Thank you for your answer. It's open to everybody.
Eduard, are you there? Yes, if you want to answer, yeah, I know you're in disadvantage.
Anyhow,
Okay.
we have to consider RGPD topic. As previously mentioned when I was talking about OBFCM, because it's related to personal data, we have to make sure that we have the approval from the user, from the vehicle owner, that we will bring those data to the commission or to someone else. But we have to pay attention to that.
And that's why the whole right to repair issue talks about accessing the data at the point of the vehicle, rather than being reliant upon accessing that data from the OEM cloud. And you know, whether it's the black box or whether it's at the vehicle itself, that's the critical issue, is that we're going to be able to access data real time in order for us to do our proper diagnosis and maintenance. So, you know, again, whether it's the black box, whether it's at the point of the vehicle, that's where the data has to be accessed. And we can't be reliant upon the OEM to go to them, to the server. Even if we're granted complete access, it's the whole real-time data access issue that's at work here too. So that's why it's really important that we're able to get at that data real-time at the point of the vehicle.
Yeah, just to compliment, I believe that it will take a little bit longer for the telematics to do all the work for cars. You know, there are very many cars that have no system to report, you know, the information on the car. Some cars can, new cars now can tell even how many, how you call it, the tires are inflated at some pressure, you know. Not all of them will report that, so it will take longer for that to happen, I believe.
I think our time is expired, so sorry about that. So I just want to ask the audience a big applause for our speakers, and